In this section, we'll see another use case for the git rebase command. It's one that I actually quite like using. It's called interactive rebasing, and we'll use it in this section to clean up our git history, basically to go back and reword commits, like not just the previous commit, but 10, 50, 100 commits, probably not that far back normally, but you can reword commits, you can edit commits, we can do something called fixing up and squashing commits, we can even drop commits entirely. And I'm going to show you how to do all of that with the interactive rebase command. I will say that this is all going to go nice to have. It's personally, I like using it. It's part of my workflow when I work with Gits. But not everyone does this, and it's not something that really I could say is important or critical, but I like it, and I think it's kind of fun, honestly. It's different than a lot of what we do with Git. Anyway, nice to haves. I wouldn't skip it. It's a short section, and I hope you enjoy it. It's kind of fun to go back and edit and manipulate Git history that's already happened. Okay, so now we're going to talk about a second way of using the git rebase command. We can use it to rewrite history. We can edit commits. We can change commit messages. We could change the contents of a commit. We can drop or delete an entire commit. We can even reorder things using git rebase. So if you remember, I had this slide with not a peace sign, but two fingers, because there are two main ways to use the git rebase command. One is as an alternative to merging, as we've already discussed. You're probably exhausted from that, but that's one way of using it. But another way of using it is as a cleanup tool. And it allows us to do some of these things I've just mentioned, rewrite history. Now, of course, anytime we rewrite history, we don't want to be doing that on work that people already have, right? We don't want to rewrite commits and make new commit hashes and screw everything up if collaborators already have that work. But this is a common workflow if you've been working on a branch, you have lots of commits that maybe you've been working on this feature for a while, and you have some kind of half-baked commits or some buggy things or half-complete commits. If you want to go through and streamline that and combine commits down, rename them, that can be a nice thing to do before you share that code with anyone. So it's a step a lot of people take before sort of the grand unveiling of their branch, of their feature. So the way that we do this is a little bit different. We use the git rebase command, but typically we don't actually specify a branch to rebase onto. Instead, we're just going to rebase a series of commits onto the head that they are currently based on. So instead of rebasing onto the master branch, for example, or the main branch, we'll rebase whatever branch we're on, my feature. We'll rebase that branch onto where it currently is, my feature. So it's just a way of recreating commits. Every commit that we specify, and we do have to provide a range. How far do we want to go back? In this case, 4 commits. I want to go back 4 commits, recreate each one. And then we pass in this -i flag, this -i option. It stands for interactive, and I'll show you what that does in the next video. It's a very different way of rebasing than what we've seen so far. But remember that the git rebase command, in the ways that, or the previous way that we saw how to use it as an alternative to merge, what it did was it went through all the commits on some branch, and it recreated each one, right, at the tip of a branch. So it doesn't matter where in this example, but it recreates each commit from this feature branch, minus those merge commits because they're not necessary. So each commit got a new hash, but it had the same contents, it had the same message, same commit message, but they're distinct commits. Using the interactive mode with this -i, it gives us the ability to instead say, as you're making this new commit, change the name or drop it. Don't make a new version of this one. So this is the basic syntax. In the next video, I'm going to demo it using a repository I've set up that you can clone as well. If you want to follow along, it's kind of fun. And I'll walk through that in the next video. All right, so I want to demonstrate how we could use this -i option, the interactive rebase, in order to clean up a messy branch, a messy set of commits. So I have a messy set of commits that you can try this on. The link will be included with this video as a resource. Interactive rebase demo, it's not very creative, but we have a bunch of commits in here. Well, not a huge amount, but 8 or 10 commits? And there are some missteps here. For example, I started with initial commit, that's fine. But most of my commits are using the imperative, imperative voice, imperative it's not tense. Is it present tense imperative voice? Whatever the grammatical term is, right? Fix X, add X, but then past tense, I added project files. Okay, so I want to rename that or rework that commit message before I share that with somebody. And this is a silly example, but often, you might be doing some work locally on some project where you're just working on your own. You're not paying attention to commit guidelines and messaging guidelines for the commit messages. But then as you get ready to share this branch with people and with, let's say somebody who maintains a big open source project or your boss, you might want to go through and rename commits to conform to some pattern that the project is asking you to do. Anyway, I also have a situation here. I added some Bootstrap files in, and then I committed, and then I realized, oh, whoops, forgot to add Bootstrap.js script. I forgot to add the JavaScript portion. So I want to go through and I want to combine that actually into one commit because they're doing the same thing. It's part of adding Bootstrap into my file. If you don't know Bootstrap, it's okay. Basically, I started a task and I didn't quite finish it, so I have a second commit that also has to do with the same topic. Then I have this. I added a top nav bar to this website, and then I made a commit, but then I found some typos, so I made a commit, and then, oh no, I found more typos, so I made another commit. I don't want to share that with people. I want those typos to be fixed, but I want to collapse those down and just merge them in with this commit. And then also I've got this last commit. My cat made this commit. I want to just completely drop that. I don't want that. All right, so I just want to get rid of it. So these are all things that we can do using interactive rebase. So I'm going to start by cloning this project. So let's copy this URL, and then I'll clone it down. So make sure I'm not in a repo. Git clone this URL. Okay, so if we take a look, cd into there, first thing I'll do is run git log one line. You can see that history, right? Initial commits, this one in the wrong tense, I added project files. The Bootstrap stuff, the only thing that has changed actually is that I created a README on GitHub. I forgot about that, and I did not include that commit in this commit log. So there's another commit that was just added at the top, create the README. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a branch first. So this is just on the main branch, but imagine we're working on some feature. So I'm going to make a branch, git switch -c, my feature, my feat. All right, so I'm on this branch and I am ready to share this code with people, but then I realized this is actually pretty terrible. I want to go through and clean up some of these commits, condense them, maybe drop some, rename them before anyone sees them. So as we talked about, we can use this git rebase command with the -i option and then specify how far back we want to go. And again, I'm not specifying a branch to rebase onto. I just want to rebase in place on top of the branch we're currently in. In other words, redo some number of commits on this branch. So I need to figure out how many. I'll just go, I'm not going to mess with initial commit. So I could just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I could go back 9 commits and rebase that. All right. So before I do anything, I'm going to take a screenshot of this just so that I can show you afterwards. All right, so now I'm going to run the command. So it's git rebase -i for interactive, and then I have to specify how many commits back I want to recreate. So if I only wanted to edit something, 5 commits ago, there's no reason to go back 50 commits. Generally, right, we want to minimize the amount of rewriting history we do. So in our case, though, looking at this log, I've screenshotted it here. I want to go back and at least to this one, as we talked about, so that's 9. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Git rebase -i and then head ~9. 9 commits ago. Also remember that I am not specifying a branch. We are not rebasing onto a branch. We're rebasing in place. So that's why I didn't say like git rebase master or anything like that. Okay, so when I hit enter here, something weird will happen. It will open up our text editor, and it's not the most interactive thing ever, but it opens up our text editor and it will give us a list of our commits with these commands next to them. It will say pick by default, but then I have a bunch of options I can instead use. So I'm going to sort of take my time showing those options to you in the next video or two. But in this video, we're going to focus on one, which is called reword. But first I've got to run this. So I hit enter and it opens my text editor. Make this a bit larger. it shows me all the commits, not ever in my repository, right? Only the ones that I selected, so 9, going back 9 commits. So we don't see initial commit. That was 10 commits ago. It stops with I added project files. Also, notice the order is reverse, right? Normally with git log, we see the oldest commit at the bottom and the newest commit up top. Here it's reversed. Oldest, newest. But this is because basically this is a list of commands that we're telling Git to do for each commit, starting with this one, do this. We'll talk about pick in a moment. But if I change what these are, if I say drop something, rename, edit, it's going to go through an order and take this commit and follow this instruction. And then this next one, take this commit, follow that instruction. So if I change those instructions, it goes through an order and it does whatever I say to these commits. So it starts at the beginning, right? Not the beginning of our project, not the beginning of the branch, but the beginning of this subsection of commits, 9 commits. It starts at this one and then reconstructs going towards the most recent commit. So there's a list of these commands that we have available down at the bottom here. Quite a few. Pick, reword, edit, squash, fix up, exec, break, drop, label, reset, merge. I've highlighted some of the more important ones here. The first is the default one that it's already using, pick. It's just a way of saying, yes, use this commit. Keep it, don't change it, just use this commit, pick it. But in this video, I'll also show you reword, which is how I can reword the commit message. So I'll edit the commit message. We'll still keep that commit right in history. It's not going to go away or anything, the contents of it, but I want a new message. So in our example, I have this one in past tense. I added project files. I want to reword that. So I don't just edit it here in place. What I'm going to do is reword. That's the command I want. I could also just do R, but I'm going to do reword just to make it clearer for you. I'm going to save this. And this whole time, right, it's my editor, Git has just been waiting, tapping its toe, just waiting for me to finish. So I'm going to close out of here now. I'm going to close this window. That was the only command I wanted to do, the only change. And now it opens up something new. It says, waiting for your editor to close again, but this time it opened up that commit message. And it's going to allow me to change this. Instead of saying, I added project files, I'll just say, add project files. Okay, and then I'll save, and then I'm going to close out of here. Also, you can see interactive rebase in progress. It knows, right, that we're in the middle of this. It's actually the very first commit that it's rebasing is the one I reworded. Everything else is just being picked, meaning keep it. Don't reword it. Don't do anything. Just keep it. So I close out and I'll full screen this. Here we are, waiting for your editor to close. Okay, it did. And then it says successfully rebased and updated. Okay, so I type git status. Nothing has changed. However, if I type git log and I do one line, the first thing that we'll notice, hopefully, is this new commit message. Add project files instead of added, or I added, I think is what it said. So we changed that message. We reworded that message. So I'm going to screenshot this and compare. Okay, so this is what we had before. I added project files. That was our second commit. Now, our second commit is add project files. But more importantly, or just as important, by changing that commit, by renaming it or rewording it, that changes the commit hash. I'll compare them as best I can here. Let's see, maybe zoom these in a bit. Well, it's not a perfect comparison. The screenshots are different sizes, but you can see that first commit, initial commit, is unchanged. But then every other commit afterwards actually was rewritten. It has a new hash because this one changed. We changed that message. The whole commit changes. And every subsequent commit has to change because every commit takes into account its parent commit. It's rehashed. Long story short, all new commits here. But that's all that's changed. We renamed or reworded one commit message that made every other commit afterwards change. The commit hash is regenerated. It's a new commit, but the messages are the same. The contents are the same. We didn't rebase onto another branch, right? So our branch still looks the same and the same number of commits. It's just that we use this one command so far, the reword command, to change the commit message. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how we can actually combine commits so that I can get rid of some of these redundant things, like combine the 2 bootstrap commits here, or the 2 bug fix commits up here with the navbar. So that's what I'll show you in the next video. We still use interactive rebase, it's just a new command. All right, so we saw how to reword a commit, and you can do that with multiple commits. Instead of just pick for each one, you can replace it with reword if you wanted to reword all of them. But what I want to do next is focus on combining. Let's do these two, where I have add bootstrap, and then whoops, forgot to add bootstrap JavaScript script. So in this example, or in this commit, I added a CSS file for bootstrap, and then in this next commit, I realized I had forgotten to add the JavaScript script. So 2 things that really both should be part of add bootstrap. So I want the contents of both commits. I don't want to just delete this, but I want to get rid of that message. I don't want to have a moment in history where you see this change. I want it to be incorporated in this commit. So we have an option to do that. We can use fix up, a different command, which basically says use the contents of this commit, but meld it or mush it into the previous commit and get rid of its commit message. So that's what I want. I want to just get rid of this commit message, take the contents of the commit and mush it together with this one. So I'll show you that now. I need to figure out how far back I want to rebase. I'll just do 9 again. Just, we don't need to, but sure, 9. So it opens this up, and I need to find the one that I want to fix up. So it says it's like squash, which will use the commit but meld it into the previous commit. But this time, if we use fix up, it also discards the commit's log message. So squash does not do that. I tend not to use squash. I tend to use fix up. If I want to combine commits, I probably want to only keep one commit message, but keep the contents of both. Okay, so we'll start here. Pick that. Fine, keep it. Pick that. That means keep it, right? Don't change. Pick add bootstrap. I don't want to change that either. But this one here, I'm going to change to fix up. Or just F, but again, I'm going to type the whole thing out, so fix up, and then save. And this will take the commit from before and add this commit onto that one. So take the contents of this commit, which I think it was just a single JavaScript line, and add that on to this commit, and then just get rid of this commit message. So I'll show you when I close this. We're going to get rid of this file, or X out, after I save. Go back to our terminal. Successfully rebased. Okay, so get status. We're still in the same branch. Nothing has really changed, at least not obviously. But if I do a git log, 1 line, take a look. We just have add bootstrap. So that makes it seem like we deleted the commit that came after it. I don't see it here, but I'm telling you the contents are still included. I can prove that to you, I guess. If I go to GitHub and I take a look at what we did in that commit, if I look at this, forgot to add bootstrap JS commit, it was just this line. So line 14, 15, 16 of the HTML file, although that will change, but it's this script. This is going to be really annoying, but you can see script, CDN, JS deliver, anonymous, whatever you want to look at there. If I open up my project locally, I still see that script. It's going to be down here, right there. CDN, JS deliver, anonymous. It's the same contents of that commit, but that commit is now mushed in. It's gone from our local machine. It's still on GitHub, but I don't have that commit with that message. Whoops, forgot to add bootstrap JS script. I combined that. I fixed it up, so it was right here, right? This one. Whoops, forgot to add bootstrap JS script. Smushed it in with add bootstrap, and we end up with just one streamlined commit for those 2 commits. So all the changes are still there. We just have one simplified commit that says add bootstrap. I could also rename this if I wanted to reword it. I could say add bootstrap CSS and JS, and it's totally up to me. Now, as a consequence, by doing that, once again, all of these commits that come after it are going to be new. So that pick command just means keep the contents, keep everything you can from this commit, but it may end up that we need to remake that commit if something changes before it. So we change this this commit here. So this has a new hash. Add top navbar DE1. In the previous video, or at the beginning of this one, add top navbar was 71B. So all the subsequent commits have changed. All right, so I'll do one more example. We have all of these right here. Fix another navbar typo, fix navbar typos, add top navbar. If I want to combine, I could combine these two. They both are just fixing typos in the navbar. I could do that. Or I could combine all three of these and just have one add top navbar if I wanted to. So why don't I try that? So we'll do the same thing. Now, if I do a get rebase 9 this time, head tilde 9, that results in an error because the number of commits that I have has changed, right? I have one fewer. So I'm going to do 8. Alrighty. So what am I going to do here? We'll fix up, minimize that, these here. Fix navbar typos, fix another navbar typo. I'm going to do a fix up and another fix up. So both of them will be smushed into the previous commit. And those messages will be lost, just gone, but the contents of both will be included. So I fixed, I'll show you the typos, they're not exciting, but I fixed 2 typos and then 1 typo here. I'm just going to include that all when I created the navbar. All right, so right now we have those 2 commits about fixing typos. I'm going to close out. Okay, it looks good here. And if I do a git log 1 line, now it just says add top navbar. Commit hash changed, but we no longer have those other 2 typo commits. They are gone. But I promise you the changes are still there. I'll quickly prove that and then end the video. So if I go back to one of them, how about fix another navbar typo? I had navbar with 2 R's and I fixed it to have 1 R. All right, so that change is still here. It's just been moved into a different commit, it's been smushed. If I find that line, which is right here, that typo has been fixed. Navbar with 1 R. And the other commit, navbar here, navbar typos, I've changed link that had 2 Ks to have 1 K. So if I show you that, right, it is right here, it has 1 K. So those changes were not deleted. They're still there. All the code from whatever commit that I fixed up, that's still included. It's just smushed into the previous commit and the commit message is gone. So that's super useful. I have cleaned up my history significantly already, right? This is a lot easier to look at and understand what I was doing. One thing though that we probably want to do is get rid of this commit, and I'll show you how to do that next. The final thing I'll show you here with interactive rebase is how we can completely remove a commit, not just the message, but the entire commit and its changes. So I have this one horrible commit I made. Let's say it was an accident. It's silly. But in all reality, there might be work you've done on a branch that you just don't want anymore, especially as you're about to share this branch with other people. So I faked that by making a commit claiming it was from my cat. My JavaScript app.js file has a bunch of random nonsense and then a commit message that says my cat made this commit. So I want to get rid of that. I'll just show you right now. If I take a look at the app.js file using the aptly named cat command, this is what's in there, right? I can see this here if I open it. I want to get rid of that. I could delete it, of course, but then I have to make a commit that says something like, deleting work from my cat. I just want to drop that commit entirely. So I need to figure out how far back to go. It's just 2 commits ago. So I could just do that. Go back 2. So interactive rebase 2. So I'm going to do that. Get rebase -I. Again, just rebasing in place. So head tilde 2. It opens it up. Here's that commit. And instead of pick or reword or fix up, I'm going to drop, which will remove the commit entirely. Alrighty. So we're going to go ahead and try that. I don't know why I just went to my terminal. I'm going to do drop that commit and then X out of here. I saved. And now, first of all, if I type git log, that commit is not showing up, right? I don't see the message, but also the changes are gone. If I go to my editor, that file is still here because I created it in a different commit, but the contents are gone. So now I have a completely rewritten history on this branch, my feature branch, and we could compare it. So if we just take a look here, right, we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total commits, and they're all, I guess, in present tense. Although, you know what, maybe I want to uppercase all of them. So here we have an uppercase C, or The other option would be to make this lowercase. So we could do that, right? We know how to do that. Actually, if it's the most recent commit, the easiest way is to use git commit -- amend, which I showed you quite a long time ago. You may not remember. But if I do this, it opens up the most recent commit, and it allows me to edit the commit message, but also I could add stuff in if I did a git add first and then commit amend. So I'm going to close out of this though. And now if I do my git log, everything's all lowercase. I don't know, maybe just keep it consistent, right? It's just another way of editing commits, of rewriting history. Okay, so we'll switch back to master from here, git switch master, and do a, oh no, it's main, isn't it? And then I'll do a git log one line. Way more commits, as you can see, very inconsistent, tense. We collapsed some of these down, we mushed them together. This one here with that one, and then these three we combined, we dropped this one, we rewrote history.